What's up, everybody? So one of the questions I get asked the most is what is going on with the appeals of Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey, when right now there's pretty much just a whole bunch of waiting around, waiting for people to respond. But postcrescent.com has posted a great article on just this. They go over in very good detail what is currently going on and what has gone on since the beginning in the appeals efforts of both Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey. I will link it in the description below so you can go have a view for yourself, but let's go over everything they talk about in this article. It starts out with, in Wisconsin, a defendant seeking to appeal their conviction must often first file a motion for post-conviction relief at the circuit court level, also referred to as the trial court, depending on the circumstances of their argument. A circuit court motion is required if a defendant wants to bring up issues that were not discussed at trial, like the discovery of new evidence. If the trial court judge denies the motion, a defendant can then petition the Court of Appeals to reverse the trial court's decision. If the trial court grants the motion, prosecutors can appeal. Stephen Avery has previously filed 4 motions for post-conviction relief in Manitowoc County Circuit Court, all of which were denied. Now let's go back to the first relief attempt. Post-conviction relief attempt number 1 from 2009 to 2011. June 2009. Post-conviction attorneys for Stephen Avery filed a motion for post-conviction relief asking for a new trial. They claimed the trial judge wrongfully excused a juror and improperly excluded evidence of third-party liability. In January of 2010, Manitowoc County Circuit Court Judge Patrick Willis denied the motion. In June of 2010, Stephen Avery's attorneys filed an appellate brief in the Wisconsin Court of Appeals seeking to appeal the trial court's denial of post-conviction relief and its judgment of conviction. In August of 2011, a panel of 3 appellate judges affirmed the circuit court's decision. In December of 2011, the Wisconsin Supreme Court denied a petition from Stephen Avery to review the appellate court's decision. Moving on to post-conviction relief attempt number 2, which was from 2013 to 2017. February 2013, Stephen Avery filed a post-conviction motion without attorney representation. In November 2015, Manitowoc County Circuit Court Judge Angela Sutkiewicz denied the motion. In December of 2015, Stephen Avery appealed that judge's decision, filing a brief in the appellate court. In January of 2016, Kathleen Zellner became involved in Stephen Avery's appeal efforts. She told filmmakers in the 2nd season of Making a Murderer that she responded to requests from Stephen Avery to take his case after she saw the Netflix docuseries. I might be wrong on this, but I believe in the 2nd season of Making a Murderer, Sandy Greenman, like I said, I could be remembering this wrong, but Sandy Greenman had attempted to contact Kathleen Zellner multiple times to attempt to get her on the case before she responded. In July of 2017, Stephen Avery's attorneys voluntarily dismissed his post-conviction motion that he was handling at the time without attorney representation because now he had representation. Post-conviction relief attempt number 3 from 2017 to 2021. June 2017, Stephen Avery's attorneys filed a second motion for post-conviction relief in the trial court in June of 2017. In October of 2017, Judge Angela denied the motion. I'm not even going to begin to attempt to pronounce her last name. Again, it's Sutkiewicz. Maybe it's simple, but looking at that, there's no chance I'm going to say it correctly. In November of 2017, Avery's attorneys filed a motion for reconsideration and a motion to vacate. In August of 2019, that same judge, I'll just call her Judge Angela, denied the motions. In October of 2019, Kathleen Zellner filed an appellate brief asking the Court of Appeals to review the trial court's denials. In July of 2021, the court, it's crazy that it was 2 years in between that, the Court of Appeals affirmed the lower court's decision determining Stephen Avery's claims were not enough to grant him a hearing. How much? I mean, it's not just Wisconsin. It's everywhere. It's the same in Canada, the United States, probably all over the world. I don't know. But the amount of time it takes to get anything done is bonkers, because there was almost 2 years between that October 2019 and July of 2021. Then again, in November of 2021, the Wisconsin Supreme Court declined to review the appellate court's decision. And on to post-conviction relief attempt number 4, which is from 2022 to what is currently going on right now. August of 2022, Stephen Avery's attorneys filed his third motion for post-conviction relief, which alleges another man killed Teresa Halbach and then framed Stephen Avery by leaving the key to Teresa Halbach's vehicle in Stephen Avery's bedroom, and then was a key witness against him at trial. They, of course, are alluding to Bobby Dassey there, allegedly. In August of 2023, Judge Angela denied the motion. In February of 2024, Stephen Avery's attorneys filed an appellate brief in the Court of Appeals. March 2024, Stephen Avery's attorneys filed a motion in the Circuit Court requesting DNA testing on various parts of Teresa Halbach's vehicle, including the driver and passenger seats, the dashboard, the steering wheel, and the rear cargo area. In July of 2024, the motion for scientific testing was dismissed at agreement of both the defense and the prosecution. So that's where they are at right now. We are still waiting to hear from the court or the judge on the rest of Kathleen Zellner's latest filing. There was a court hearing, not really much of one, a status conference, they called it, a few weeks ago. And the person in there said that it probably wouldn't be likely until the spring. Of course, that could change at any time. But they were predicting that they wouldn't hear anything on that until the spring of 2025. Now, let's move on to Brendan Dassey's appeal efforts. Again, this is linked in the description if you want to go check it out for yourself. Like Stephen Avery, Brendan Dassey, now 35, made a few attempts to appeal his conviction over the years. Brendan Dassey's attorneys filed a motion for post-conviction relief in Manitowoc County Circuit Court in August of 2009. In January 2010, a 5-day hearing was held in the Circuit Court to hear testimony regarding Brendan Dassey's motion for post-conviction relief, much of which focused on the evidence that his confession was coerced and that his trial counsel was ineffective. The trial court denied his motion for post-conviction relief in December 2010. Brendan Dassey attempted to appeal that ruling. In January of 2013, a 3-judge panel in the Court of Appeals affirmed the court's decision. The Wisconsin Supreme Court then denied a petition to review that decision in August of 2013. But then, in 2016, Brendan Dassey had hope. In August 2016, U.S. Judge William Duffin overturned his conviction, then The ruling granted Brendan Dassey's petition for either release or a new trial. In his 91-page decision, the judge said Dassey's constitutional rights were violated. The judge criticized investigators, state courts, and Brendan Dassey's pre-trial attorney for how they handled the case. Prosecutors appealed that judge's ruling, and a 3-panel judge of the United States Court of Appeals for the 7th Circuit, which oversees lower courts in Wisconsin, Illinois, and Indiana, affirmed the decision 2-1 in June of 2017. Prosecutors then sought further review by the 7th Court, which upheld Brendan Dassey's conviction in a 4-3 vote, which was absolutely heartbreaking and disgusting, putting a halt to his hope for release. The majority opinion said they did not find that Dassey's confession to police was coerced. 4-3, man. Just disgusting. Like, I don't know. Anyone with ears and eyes, in my opinion, of course, there's a lot of people out there that just like to poke the bear and get a reaction from people and say things that they know is going to be like hurtful, or get a reaction from the people that think Brendan Dassey's guilty. But I went into this knowing absolutely nothing about anybody. I've since learned a bunch and spoken to a lot of the people involved. And I still, after watching Making a Murderer, then doing my own research and reading everything I could find on it, there is no doubt in my mind, still to this day, there's not even the slightest amount of doubt that Brendan Dassey's confession was coerced. There's his rights were violated, and what they did to that young man, that 16-year-old with a low IQ, no lawyer, no parent present, even if they didn't have to have a lawyer or parent present, given the low IQ or the intelligence level of Brendan Dassey, they should have done the right thing. The investigators, the people doing the interview should have done the right thing and got one for him, knowing his low level of intelligence. But they didn't want to, because they knew they could get him to do and say whatever they wanted so that they could wrap this case up, put a nice little bow on it, and be done with it. Little did they know that it would become this gigantic thing because of the Making a Murderer documentary. They thought they could just get rid of Brendan Dassey, throw him in jail, no one would care, and no one would ever hear about it ever again. They were extraordinarily wrong. So I feel that's why they did it. I felt they didn't think there would be any repercussion for their action. But my opinion, which doesn't mean anything, I fully believe with every ounce of my being that Brendan Dassey's confession was 1,000,000% coerced. I don't know what it would take to get me to think or say otherwise. It would have to be quite the bombshell. And I've read and seen almost everything. Do I remember it all? No. But I have read and seen everything that has ever been presented to me on the case, and nothing has ever changed my mind on that fact. So where am I here? In 2019, Brendan Dassey petitioned Governor Tony Evers to grant him clemency through either a pardon, which would release Dassey from prison and restore some of his legal rights, which would either release or shorten his sentence, but both were denied. In 2022, Stephen Avery's former lawyers, Dean Strang and Jerry Buting, wrote a letter to Governor Tony Evers requesting clemency for Brendan Dassey. Brendan Dassey doesn't really have, unfortunately, a lot of options left. I sure hope that they can figure out something and change that, and he gets out of prison as soon as possible. The whole thing is absolutely bananas. I've talked to people involved at the highest level on both sides of the case. And I don't know, it's just my opinion that that poor boy, that poor 16-year-old with a learning disability, with the IQ level he had, with knowing how easily he could be led, they could have got him to say anything. They should have done if they were so confident that Brendan Dassey was guilty, what were they scared of by having a lawyer or parent present? Sure, a lawyer, sure, they didn't have to. They weren't breaking the law or whatever it was by not having one present. But you should have done the right thing and had one present anyway. You're the cops. You're the police. You're the people that are supposed to be the folks they are able to trust and rely on to do the right thing. So you should have been like, you may have said no, but with your situation, we feel it best that you have an attorney present with you at all times, Brendan. Because, you know, they were going to be able to prove that he was guilty anyway, right? Without having to do anything wrong. So they should have just been like, here's an attorney. We want to make sure everything is done by the books, so none of this comes back to haunt them as detectives. They would have been protecting themselves from all of this if they just let Brendan have an attorney present and Brendan knew his rights. It seems so simple, but for some reason, those investigators, the people involved, were determined to do everything their own way and not let Brendan Dassey have the help he should have gotten. My opinion, who cares, right? But anyway, what do you guys think? Let me know. Leave some comments below. Hope you're having a good day, and I will see you again soon.